Welcome back to Fire Emblem Path of Radiance. Last time we released some prisoners and gained some new recruits into our army. This time, well, that's an ominous chapter title, isn't it? For some reason, I've always found this one of the more difficult chapters in this game, which admittedly isn't saying much, but I usually have trouble with this one. Here we are at Port Town, which we found pretty quickly, actually. I kind of like the little groups that everyone has gone into there. I actually kind of wonder what Mia, Ileana, Oscar, and Marsha are talking about. I guess we'll never know. Anyway. Looks like we're in full, Ranulph is in full, we'll need disguises, perfect mode. If you haven't seen that scene from Blazing Sword, please look it up, it's unintentionally hilarious. Well, I guess we're lucky to have found this place. Yeah, we'd heard about that before. Admittedly, those were some pretty, well, the fantasy equivalent of trigger-happy Daeans. This dialogue from Soren is actually really interesting, though. If you've played Persona 5, you'll know about this kind of thing. But it is very, very true. It is a lot harder to care about calamitous events if they don't directly affect you. It's kind of funny how Ike has that "you'll get no sympathy from me" line in Smash Brothers, whereas Soren is the closest thing to actually saying that line in this game itself. Yeah, that's kind of what he does. His pragmatism is helpful sometimes, though. Yeah, something's very, very wrong here. That is kind of interesting. Like, often a lot of people who don't seem to have a lot of social skills outwardly are actually very empathetic. It's easy to just assume they aren't, and that's kind of unfair. And suddenly, Ranulph becomes a poet. Or a philosopher. Yeah, suddenly waxing philosophical in, right before a battle. Well, I mean, we don't know there's going to be a battle, but this is a Fire Emblem game. Of course there's about to be a battle. Just notice that Ranulph's mismatched eye colors are easier to notice with this for some reason. That's kind of cool. I know that kind of thing does happen in real life. It's pretty rare, but it does happen. It's unfortunately got a bad rap because a lot of fanfic writers just love giving that to their Mary Sue, Gary Stu OCs. Which is kind of unfortunate. Like, there are a lot of things that can... Some people are afraid to spice up characters with unique traits out of fear of being accused of... Anyway, it's not a conversation for now. Also, we'll be at sea for months, or a few chapters. That's the good thing about the chapter progression of this game. we don't really need to worry about the amount of time that actually takes place in the game universe. But yeah, no, totally makes sense that we want some kind of escort here. Yeah, we saw that firsthand when we tried visiting those villages back in Chapter 9. And speaking of villages, it's actually going to be very important to keep that in mind for this chapter. Because back there, it didn't affect gameplay. It actually does in this one. Well, I mean, King Ramon's dead now, so things are unfortunately going to get even worse. Yeah, Ranulph definitely does seem like the kind of person who knows his way around these sort of cities. And with that, we go to the base. I've got a lot of people that I need to talk about here, so I'm kind of eager to get to this. Meanwhile, summary. We got 100 less combat experience than we would have got for bonus experience had we done that chapter the stealth way, but oh well. And we spent a little bit of gold on other stuff as well as some lockpicking. Yeah, we're going to be getting a lot of new characters from now on. In fact, it's going to be a little while until we go a chapter without recruiting anyone. So here we are back at the base. This base artwork is kind of unique too. I always find the base theme really relaxing, but anyway, I guess I should go to outfit first. Let's see, Ike, I want to switch back to the archer band on Ike, because he needs more speed. He's definitely falling behind in that department. Mist, unfortunately, cannot use the ward staff because, as I found out, it's C rank. So she has to stick with heal for the moment. Let me just check what's in the shop. Are you selling? Nope, you're not selling Mend. Okay, then. Let's check what's in the armory, though. Finally, steel swords. I might want to buy some of those for Ike. They sacrifice accuracy over the iron ones, but since Ike has enough strength to not be weighed down by them, also, I'm still really terrified of this guy. Let's ignore that. Oh, yeah, and we can buy hand axes again, and also knives. Yeah, on normal and easy, you can buy hand axes all throughout the early game, but on hard, it's only every 3 chapters. Also, almost forgot for a second to show off Kieran, Nephany, and Brom. So, firstly, here's Kieran. Just being a Cavalier in Path of Radiance makes Kieran automatically good. But even by Cavalier standards, Kieran is very strong, having solid bases, great growths, as you can see, pretty amazing averages. Oh, and he uses axes. In terms of final stats, he's pretty much Oscar just with more strength, but Oscar is available a lot longer. He also starts with an interesting skill, Gamble. This is activated via a command, i.e. you can choose whether or not to use it anytime you attack, and when used, it halves your hit rate but doubles your critical rate. Obviously this isn't worth it unless you're using something like a killer axe, and even then, remember that an attack needs to hit in order to critical. So if you have a 100% critical chance but a 50% hit chance, that's actually the same critical rate as having a 100% hit chance but a 50% critical chance. And in fact, it's even worse, because with a 100% hit rate, your outcomes are either critical or do normal damage, whereas the other way around, your outcomes are do nothing or critical. Long story short, Gamble is not that great on Kieran. I find there are a few cases in this game where it can be decent, but only on snipers or sword masters. They tend to have such high accuracy that halving it often results in a 70% hit rate, which under true hit is not bad, and they can easily reach 100% critical rates under Gamble with killer weapons. But like I said, Kieran is not one of those, so using Gamble on him, not the best idea. Using Kieran in general, though, is a very good idea. And here's Brom. Brom is another Armor Knight, and he's pretty similar to Gatry overall. The main difference is that he has a little more skill and speed than Gatry does, but in the speed front, that's not saying much. And he loses out on a bit of strength. Gatry also, even if you're not using him in the long term, at least helps out a lot in the early game, whereas Brom isn't really all that necessary. You might think he's good if you really want an Armor Knight thanks to Gatry being gone, but, well, reasons. Yeah, reasons. That's all I'll say for now. Overall, Braum is usually not considered that great, but he's a character who I find kind of fun to use sometimes. He also has some pretty nice supports, so if you're looking to try out something different or just want to use an uncommon character, he can be kind of fun sometimes. And for some reason, Nephine's a little higher up on our list.
We aren't really much with fancy talk. I'm just trying to speak like you.
Here's the one you were probably all dying for me to get to. It's Nephine, one of the most famous and most popular characters in this game. Responsible for redeeming the soldier class in the eyes of many people. Yes, soldiers were playable back in Gaiden, but I personally consider them to be more of a trainee class for Armor Knights in that one, rather than a full class in their own right. Nephine, on the other hand, was the first soldier to promote to Halberdier, a lance-wielding foot class that has a very solid balance of strength, skill, speed, and defense. Nephine's base stats and growth really complement this. She gains a nice amount of strength, skill, speed, and defense over the course of the game, though I find her strength tends to lag behind a little bit later on, but if you want someone who's fast, but also can take a hit, Nephine is for you. Speaking of take a hit, no you're not seeing things, she really does have a 28 defense cap. I had to double check that a few times because I didn't believe it when I first saw it. The problem is, it's not really all that great because Nephine is very unlikely to reach that. I mean, if she does, then she's pretty amazing and basically obsoletes all generals, but like I said, that's very unlikely. Also, being a lance user means Nephine can use javelins, and she can use them right from the start, thankfully. She does have quite a few drawbacks though. The first is obvious, not being mounted. But that was pretty much inevitable. Mounted units are broken in this game anyway. And she's probably in the top 3 of on-foot units along with Ike and Boyd. Her other problem though is starting with an E rank in Lancers. Now, I find there are 2 ways to fix this problem. The first is to give her an arm scroll, which is not my preferred method. The second, which is to forge her an iron lance. Money is no object in this game, as I always say, and the good thing about a forged iron lance is that people besides Nephine can use it, unlike an arm scroll which only affects her. Overall, Nephine is an amazing on-foot unit, but suffers from the fact that this is a very mount-heavy game. But if you don't like how broken cavalry are, then you'll probably enjoy using her. Nephine comes with an amazing skill though, Wrath. This boosts your crit rate by 50 when you're below half HP. And Nephine has enough speed and defense to fight on low HP. The main problem is that later in the game, actually getting her into Wrath range can be pretty difficult. As I mentioned back in Mia's bio, there are a lot of good combos with this. The most obvious is Vantage and Wrath. The Vantage scroll isn't that far into the game either. There's also Wrath Resolve, which is amazing, but you don't get Resolve until almost the end. So none of them join with any equipment at all. So if you want to make use of them, you'll need to buy some things. Or, thankfully you can use javelins with an E rank. That is actually pretty useful. I'll give you a couple of those, and I will also give you a band. And you've got pretty good skill and speed growth. You know what? I might go ahead and give you the soldier band. Or if Ike's not using the knight band, you might as well take that. And you're only in an E rank in Lancers. I could give you an arm scroll, but I prefer to do something a little different. For now though, let's just, I'm going to put that in the convoy, and I'm going to put these in the convoy. So yeah, Master Seals work the way they do in every other game. Level 10 or higher, well for most characters. Volk is actually one of the characters who can't use it, along with Ike. Most characters can use it to promote to a second tier class. Now, in Path of Radiance, these aren't as necessary, because you don't need to use one to promote. A character who goes to level 20 in an unpromoted class, a normal unpromoted class, so not Ike or Volk, can still gain experience, and when they gain 100 experience at level 20, they automatically promote without you needing to use a Master Seal, so that's actually very good. You can save on seals if you've got people who are close to level 20. Master Seals in this game are only useful if you want to promote early, which you may want to in a lot of cases, but I personally don't like doing that because I don't like missing out on stats. Anyway, I think for now that's How many hand axes do I have? I just realized. Oh, I've got a... Actually, no, I've only got one fresh one. I might as well buy some more. I mean, we've got tons of money. Oh, and I probably want to buy a few of these too, because I find, even though I'm not planning on using Kieran, he makes a very, very useful filler unit in this chapter. So I'm going to go ahead and give Kieran some weapons. Take an iron one, and I guess a not so fresh hand axe, and maybe you might as well take a pole axe as well. You might as well grab a vulnerary, you may need it, although I don't have that many to give out. Where is... There's Nephany, she's going to take a vulnerary. And I think for now... Okay, yeah, I might want to buy some more steel weapons. So I'm going to take another steel sword for Ike, and I'm going to buy a couple of extra steel swords for the convoy. Just for the road. Thankfully, we still have access to the convoy while we're on board the ship. Just a couple more. You won't be needing that chest key for a little while. I think at the moment, I think you're probably okay on weapons, although I'd probably rather you use a hand axe than a short axe. But I like having that. Actually, there aren't going to be that many sword users in this chapter, and the few that are in this chapter, we actually don't want to kill for reasons that you'll be seeing. Okay, I will do something different with... You know what? I'm going to go ahead and do it now. We're going to be using the Forge for the first time. I like giving Nephany a forged lance, so let's base it on an iron one, because I really don't like slim lances very much. Yes, and let's see. How strong can we make it? See, fully jacking up these is not that expensive, given how much money we have, and you don't really need to raise the hit rate, but I don't know, I might as well. Don't need to lower its weight any. So let's do this. You also get to name the weapon. I don't know if I'll be using a weapon naming theme in this playthrough. In my previous playthrough of both Radiant Dawn and this, I named weapons after blades, which was kind of cool. So Nephany's first forged lance was called Perun. I mean, I could go the boring route and just call this Slaying Lance Plus from Heroes, but I don't know if I want to be a little bit more creative here. There's a name that I used for a forged lance on Nephany in a playthrough a while back that I might want to use again here. Just because, you know what? I'm going to go for it. I'm going to call this that. Just because it's kind of a tradition. This actually does fit, from what I remember. Kicks McGee, yeah. And you can actually change the color of the weapon too, which is kind of cool. I like to make Nephany's forged lances blue, just because it matches her armor. But anyway, we now have that lance named Kicks McGee. Unfortunately, there's not enough space to fit Bucky McGillicuddy. I've tried, but yeah. Some people will understand what I'm talking about there. I don't know, I'll probably just name the forged weapons whatever I want in this playthrough, but I might name some after blades, because there are a lot of blades that I never got around to naming weapons after. But anyway, we're going to do some award experience, because Nephany starts a little behind, so I'm going to spam a bunch of it. This is going to be bad for her weapon rank, but with such a powerful forged lance, it doesn't really matter. And the good thing about forging her a lance is that it means not just Nephany can use it. I can trade it to someone else and have them use a powerful forged lance. Okay, you not gaining strength is a little bit of a worry, but I don't know. Probably only need to get Nephany up to around level 11 or 12. I'm not liking the fact that you're not gaining strength though. That's a problem. And you have the strength increasing growth band as well. Okay, finally. 15 speed at level 11 is great though, I'm not going to question that. And especially on someone with that solid of a defense stat, I would have preferred more strength though. But anyway, that's going to be... Yeah, I'm going to do that for now, because once Nephany gets to around this point, she's perfectly capable of gaining her own experience in battle. She just needs a little bit of a head start. It's kind of similar to Marsha. I might as well do that. Tania's been getting some great level ups in this playthrough, which is kind of a shame because she really doesn't need them, but at least it'll make her better later in the game. And as for everyone else, I think we're all fine. Soren and Ike are both pretty over-leveled. Might as well give Mist another level up. Yeah, this is why I was saving most of my early game bonus experience. I knew I'd be using a lot here. Well, at least strength went up. I'll give her one more. This chapter does have an optional objective of bonus experience, but I find that getting the maximum in that category is extremely difficult. It involves not killing certain enemies, and these enemies are very weak and love to suicide themselves into your unit, so yeah. I could also assign Counter to someone. I really don't like Counter, though. Oh yeah, that thing with Wrath. I may as well just give you Miracle. Because, yeah, Miracle Wrath is not a bad combination, even though it's kind of unreliable. I could just give Ike Counter, but I'll probably end up removing it later in the game. You know, admittedly, Soren gets attacked sometimes, and his defense isn't great. I guess I can give this to him for now. I'll probably remove that later. As for supports, we don't really have many new ones, except for some reason Mist and Rolf have a support. I must have missed that earlier because I've never used Rolf since his debut chapter. But yeah, most of the other supports here are with people I'm not really going to be using. Mist and Mordecai's supports are kind of generic, even though I'm sort of using him. I like Mist and Rolf's supports a lot, but unfortunately we won't be seeing all of them. I guess I can show this. It's not going to be that much of a detriment to Mist in the long run. Mist and Rolf's supports actually get surprisingly dark later on. Actually, they're pretty dark even now. Basically, their supports end up dealing with just how Rolf... I think later on they go into how Rolf is just, like, he feels really awful about how desensitized he's become to killing. It's like I said, they get pretty dark later on. I think this is the first time we're seeing this, this pub background, which is actually pretty cool. A lot of the backgrounds in this game are just really great. Well, you know, we can't actually use any shops that aren't our own in this game, so your low prices mean nothing. I feel like they're going to be doing a lot worse than just raising taxes. This kind of attitude is interesting, though, because in a lot of ways, I mean... I feel like most people in real life act this way. And then this happens. And Ike is gone. On that note, this is our first ever 3-star conversation, which is interesting. Yeah, your portrait was used for that generic bandit who almost killed Rolf earlier. In Fire Emblem, anyone who looks like this and isn't named Gonzalez is generally a bad guy. Huh. Vigilante group sounds kinda suspicious. It's cool how Ike is keeping a low profile here, ish. Huh. Is this some kind of a sea falchion that Ford uses? I don't know. And if you don't want to consider that position, it's a free sword. And that's a Lagoon Slayer. Yeah, we know we're not going to be going back to this guy. So yeah, this is an effectiveness bonus sword against Lagoos, and he said that it might be useful if we ever find ourselves out at sea. You might want to remember that. For now, we don't need it. We're not going to be fighting any Lagoos in this chapter. Although, okay, I won't say it just yet. Yeah, her being out in the open here wouldn't really raise many eyebrows, seeing as most of these people have no idea who she is. Must have been hard for Alicia not being able to see the outside world. We can't forget about all that, though. And the 3 people we recruited from the prison all have talk conversations here. As always, Kieran is great. In some of Kieran's supports, he does a lot worse than pull something. In fact, his supports with Rice are some of the funniest in the game. They basically involve him getting himself injured in various increasingly ridiculous ways, and Rice just having to heal him all the time. I don't know, I seem to think that Kellum and Awakening had a similar conversation. And now you. Yeah, you better be ready. You're going to be seeing a lot of action in this chapter. Well, with all the bonus experience I just used on you. And that's all we get from her. I forgot to say this earlier, but Neffany in Heroes was one of the few Heroes voices I just didn't really care for. It's more, I just feel like they didn't really get the accent right. Anyway though, that should be everything that I want to do at the base, so let's go. Oh no, now that's giving me, CTI Zelda flashbacks. Oh no, that music can only mean one thing. We better get out of here now. Yep, all that stuff earlier about war coming to this town, it's gonna hit them sooner than they think. Oh no. Well, that's terrible for us. I think they've already closed the harbor. Well, at least we have a contact here. I guess he'll just be staying around to get more intelligence. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no, you removed his paper-thin disguise robe. We're all doomed. Maybe we should have invested in better disguises. I can't be the only one who think Leth and Mordecai's paper-thin disguises look really cool, though. That's actually true, by the way. Oh no. Well, I guess we know what these vigilantes do now, which means we'll definitely not be joining them. So now we're kinda screwed, but I guess it was worth it to save Ranulf. That's understandable, but can at least get out of here. That's a lot to take in, but basically that's this chapter. Also, what's the deal with I don't care what anyone else says? It's kind of like the compliment that's actually mostly an insult. And so, a battle begins. We have to rush to the port and get out of here, but we have villagers to save first. You might notice there's also a thief on the map. Stopping him is going to be our first priority.